Welcome to Political Hitman on Israel News Talk Radio. Want to connect with Howie? Email him at howie@israelnewstalkradio.com. Now here's your host, Howie Silberger.
And welcome to Political Hitman here on Israel News Talk Radio. My name is Howie Silberger. It is a pleasure, an honor, and a privilege to be here with you. And I am happy that you've decided to spend some time with me. So we had a death in the family this week. Jesse Jackson died. He's a human rights activist, if you didn't know who he was. A black human rights activist. He marched with Martin Luther King. And I was being a little facetious when I said he was in the family. Jesse Jackson was an ardent Jew hater. He was very, very vocal about his hatred towards the Jewish people. He referred to New York as Town, referred to Jews constantly as the people who control Hollywood, who control politics, who control the world. He was a big fan of blood libels and promoting blood libels against the Jews. So I'm not overly upset by the death of Jesse Jackson. I'm very confused by the life of Jesse Jackson. And I'll tell you why. Blacks and Jews have been oppressed for years. Jews a little more than blacks, but Jews and blacks have been oppressed for years. And that kind of oppression, when someone's put under that kind of oppression, you figure that they would have some kind of binding together. There'd be some kind of bonding. But it hasn't happened. It hasn't happened with Jews and blacks at all, ever. And so what you saw Jewish people joining the black movements in the 1950s and 60s, fighting for black civil rights. But you hardly saw, I'm not going to say never, but you hardly saw blacks joining the Jewish cause. There were hardly any blacks for Zionism, hardly any blacks standing up against the Nazi oppression of the Jews, hardly any blacks doing anything to help the Jewish cause at all. So it turned into pretty much a one-sided support system where Jews supported the black cause, but blacks didn't necessarily support the Jewish cause. And that always confused me, and I've never really gotten an answer on why that is. Jesse Jackson fed into that kind of rhetoric. Him, Louis Farrakhan, there were a bunch of them who came from that time period, who constantly and consistently fight against the Jewish people, speak out against the Jewish people, and treat the Jewish people really badly. So it's hard for me to mourn a man like Jesse Jackson, even though I could acknowledge the good he did for society, the fight that he fought, and the battles that he won. But at the same time, I have to really say that I reserve my sadness for people who supported my people, for people who cared about my safety, for people who cared about me. And I know that might sound selfish, and I don't care if it sounds selfish, because it's true. If you don't look out for yourself, nobody's going to look out for you. And if you don't support the people, or are saddened by the people who supported you who died, then what's the point? I can't mourn somebody who hated me. It doesn't work that way. And so I say, fare you well, Jesse Jackson. I bid you well. I hope that on Judgment Day, you've reached Judgment Day. I hope that on Judgment Day you are judged favorably, like I hope everyone is. And I hope you get what you deserve. Simple as that. And I hate, yeah, and so we'll move on, because I'm not going to dwell on this. I'm not going to continuously talk about a Jew hater. That's not something I'm going to do. I'm Howie Silberger. This is Political Hitman on Israel News Talk Radio. I'm heard every single week right here on Israel News Talk Radio, and I'm so happy to be here, and I want to thank the team at Israel News Talk Radio for allowing me the opportunity and the time to be on the show and to be able to express my opinion as vividly and candidly as I do. Now, I know a lot of people who listen to the show do not agree with me. This I know for sure, for certain. The reason I know it is I get a lot of emails, and I invite you to email me at howie@israelnewstalkradio.com. Just feel free to email me. You disagree with something, email me. I'll discuss it on the show. I'll even read your email. How about that? I'll read your email and discuss your issue on the show. So feel free to email me, howie@israelnewstalkradio.com. I'll be more than happy to respond to you on the show and address anything at all, any problem you have, any issue you have. You could even tell me that you agree with me. That's fine too. I'll be more than willing to address anything you email me at howie@israelnewstalkradio.com. All right, so now getting that out of the way. Oh, I forgot one more thing. So visit israelnewstalkradio.com. It is the website of this radio station, so feel free to visit that site and read the stuff on the site and listen to the talk shows and the great content they have on israelnewstalkradio.com. All right, I think we're done with the ads. All right, moving on. So with the death of Jesse Jackson, it got me thinking, and it's always dangerous when I get thinking because it leads me down these strange paths, these strange thought paths, and most of the time I get onto the show and I share them with you. And so the death of Jesse Jackson got me thinking about how we perceive things in society. So there's a lot of people. I'm online a lot, and I read a lot of stuff online, and I watch how people react to things. And it's extremely interesting to me when I watch people freaking out over a Palestinian or so-called Palestinian flag. It's very interesting to me and quite ludicrous, in my opinion, when people freak out over a director or an actor making some statement against the Jewish people or against the Israeli people. It really makes me laugh a little bit at the overall hysteria that I see online amongst Jews when it comes to the dissemination of Jew hatred or propaganda against the Jewish people. And people look at me like I'm crazy when I say things like this. They say, Howie, you should be upset about this. Spreading hate against Jews or hate against the Israelis only allows for the continuation of the hatred of the Jewish people. And so by ignoring it or by dismissing it, you are actually actively encouraging people to hate the Jews. That's the argument I get all the time. That's not true. Not true at all, actually. In fact, I think it's the opposite. I think every time we hysterically answer anybody, any idiot who makes a claim against the Jewish people, what we're doing is we're emboldening that person. That's what we're doing. So, I remember years ago, when I first started out in the political realm, I used to make statements online and in the media all the time. And when the media covered me, I used that as credibility. So I would see something or say something. I had a small organization that I was running. I founded a small organization called Save All Jews Everywhere. And I would take this small organization and I would see a swastika daubed on the synagogue. And so I would call the local news desk and say, hey, I'm calling on behalf of Save All Jews Everywhere, and I see that there's a swastika on that synagogue over there on that street. I'd like to comment on that. Now, 9 out of 10 times when I called the news place, they had no idea that there was a swastika on that synagogue. Nobody had reported it yet. The police hadn't gone there yet. I just happened to cross it before anybody knew about it. So that's fine. So they would take my statement, and then they would run my statement on the news for the next 5 hours. Okay, good. 5-6 hours later, when the mainstream, as they call themselves, Jewish organizations would find out about this thing, they would go and they'd make a statement, and then their statement would usurp my statement because they were bigger than me. And at one point or another, they would come out and say, we disagree with whatever Howie's saying at Save All Jews Everywhere. And I would use that as a badge of honor. I would say, hey, wait a second. B'nai B'rith is disagreeing with me. I'm important enough for B'nai B'rith to make a statement. I'm important enough for the Anti-Defamation League to make a statement. Amazing. I love that. that means I'm accomplishing my goal. So every time we get hysterical, or every time we freak out when some idiot posts something online, or some idiot does something, says something, and we go after their jobs, and we go after their families, and we do what we do, you're just emboldening them. You're not discouraging them. You know what discourages a bully? You know what discourages somebody who is constantly attacking you? Ignoring them. Most of the people online who are making these statements are doing it because they want more views, they want more likes, they want more hits, they want more people, more eyeballs. That's really what they're looking for. They want more people watching. If you ignore them, if you just turn them off, if you just moved on and went on to the next thing, they would not have that audience. And by not having that audience, they would quiet down. There's no reason for them to continue doing what they're doing. So by continuously answering them and continuously fighting with them, they're trying to goad you into a fight. And by giving them the fight that they're looking for, what you're doing is you're propagating the horrific thing that they're trying to spread. You're helping spread it. Because when you post on a comment and everybody sees that you post on the comment, they check it out, and then suddenly from you reading it and the 5 other losers who read his site read it, suddenly there's thousands or tens of thousands of people who read and do that. So I stopped answering people. I'll answer them if it's something that I wrote and they're commenting on something I wrote. I'll answer them if it's a personal attack. That'll answer. But a general posting about something Jewish, or about something Nazi related, or about something Arab related, I tend to ignore. I tend to not give it the credibility it deserves. I had a guy once tell me, after I posted and I had an argument with him, he thanked me. He sent me a private message and thanked me. He said, you're a talk show host. You're fairly famous. People know you. And by you having your name in the comments section of my post, it gives my post legitimacy I was looking for. It allows me to spread the post and spread my message further than it would have gone had you not answered me. Well, of course. So now I'm not answering you. It seems counterintuitive, because we're always taught that when someone insults you, you should fight back. And I've always agreed with that. In fact, I had a situation at a school I work at this week, where a kid was acting in self-defense. So what do? Do you punish the kid for acting in self-defense? No, of course not. I encourage kids to defend themselves. So there's no punishment for self-defense. But at the same time, you have to explain to the kid that there are adults in the room, and you have to go and speak to the adults. So the same thing goes with politics. You can't punish somebody, and when I say punish them in politics, it means not vote for them, or it means boycott them, or it means whatever. You can't punish somebody for their point of view. I would never boycott anybody because they said they supported the so-called Palestinian cause. That's not a boycottable offense to me. Everybody, I believe in democracy. I believe in freedom. And I believe that people have the right to make political choices. So if people decide that they want to support a fallacy, if they decide that they want to support a cause that was created in 1963 with the sole purpose of destruction of the state of Israel, if they want to support that cause, they have every right to support that cause, and I have every right not to pay any attention to them. I have every right not to argue with them. I have every right not to even listen to what they have to say. I was challenged to a debate not long ago. And the debate was, is Israel a legitimate state? And I looked at the guy who challenged me, and I said to him, I'm not doing this debate. And he said, why, are you chicken? Like that ever worked? Like, really? Calling someone chicken? Did it ever work? Maybe in Back to the Future, but outside of that, did that ever work? I don't think so. Anyway, he said, why, are you chicken? And I said, no, I'm not chicken. I'm just not going to go into a debate where the premise of the debate, the core of the debate, is that Israel's illegitimate. That's not how I'm going to start a debate. If you want to start a debate, if you want to debate me, and you're actively interested in discussing ideas and sharing points of view, I have no problem doing that, but then we have to start on neutral ground. So the title of the debate and the topic of the debate can't be Israel's a legitimate state. Can't be Israel's an apartheid state. It can't be an already conclusion. It can't be a conclusion before we even have a discussion. We can't start off the discussion with a conclusion. So when you're telling me that our debate is about is Israel a legitimate state, you're already making the decision that Israel's not a legitimate state. Otherwise, that wouldn't be in the question. So it's almost like when you take a survey and they come to your house and they ring your doorbell and they say to you, how many Jews live in the house? They've already had a predetermined number of people who lived in the house, or how many people live in the house. They already know. They're asking you as a baseline question, but then they'll question you in other ways where the questions are pointed. So they're already designed for the answer you're going to give them, so that they could extrapolate the data and be able to tell you that the data supported their theory, and their theory they had before they even came to talk to you. So they manipulate the data that way, and that's how surveys work. And that's why market surveys and general surveys, sociological surveys, are not really all that credible. You really have to look at the questions that were asked. When they say 9 out of 10 people don't like Toyota for whatever reason, I just pulled a random car out of my head. But if they said 9 out of 10 people don't like Toyota, you got to look at the questions they asked, because the questions could be leading to the no answer. I took a few statistical courses at university level, and I remember one professor got up and said, "Hey, look, you could find statistics for anything, and if you don't find the statistics, you could create the statistics by tailoring your questions." And this is what marketing firms do all the time. They wouldn't be hired by product manufacturers if they didn't tailor their questions to ensure that these manufacturers could sell their product. And so don't get duped by the majority of people who say this or the majority of people say that. It's never true. And when political parties or websites that lean towards politics quote statistics, they are always skewed. Don't think for a second anybody is being honest with you. I tell people who listen to my show and people who take classes with me and people who come to my seminars, I tell them all the same thing. I say, don't believe a word I'm saying. You're listening to the show. Thank you so much for listening. I appreciate you being here. I love the fact that you're listening to the show. But don't believe a word I'm saying. Look up everything I'm talking about. Don't believe a syllable, because I have an agenda, and I'm open about my agenda. The show's called Political Hitman. I have an agenda. My agenda is to attack. That's my agenda. Hitmen attack people. And my job is to attack ideas, political ideas. But I attack them from my point of view, from my perspective, and from my thought process. Now, I'm not 100% right. I'm never 100% correct. That's for sure. I'm never 100% wrong either. But I would never claim to be 100% correct. I am exposing an idea, an ideology that I believe in. Now, there are other ideologies I don't believe in. Other people who have opinions on topics that I express on here, on the show. People who have opinions on the same topics that are contrary to the opinions that I have. And I'm good with that. And in fact, I invite people to come onto the show and argue with me. I have no problem with that either. But at the end of the day, the show's mine, so I get to express my opinion. If it was your show, you'd express your opinion. It's my show, I get to express my opinion. And so, therefore, I'm telling you right off the bat that my opinion is skewed in whatever political realm I think of, and whatever political ideology I subscribe to. Now, am I going to share what political ideology I subscribe to? I can't. And the reason I can't, and nobody believes me when I say this, but it's true. The reason I can't is because depending on the issue, my politics go to all the polls. On some issues, I'm slightly left. On some issues, I'm slightly right. And on the vast majority of issues, I'm very conservative. But on some issues, I'm a little more liberal. It depends on what we're talking about. It depends on the context of the situation that we're talking about. Not everything in life and not everything in politics is black and white. At least I've learned that over the years. doing this a long time, and I learned over the years that not everything is black and white, and not everything in politics really works that way. And so here we are. Here we are at a crossroads. People get upset when other people express opinions. People get upset when other people wear some kind of symbolism. People get upset by this. They get upset when they hoist a flag. I'm not one of those people. I don't get upset. I don't care. Now, if they were hoisting a gun and shooting at Jews, I would be the first one in the front of the line yelling, "Let's kill them." There's no doubt about that. But hoisting a flag, who cares? The flag is not going to hurt anybody. And the people protesting on the streets in favor of a terrorist organization, well, they show who they are. We should show who we are. But they show who they are, and I really don't care if they support Hamas. It doesn't bother me. And people look at me like I'm nuts when I say this stuff. Why doesn't it bother you, Howie? Shouldn't you be bothered? You're Jewish. They're supporting the people who are advocating for your genocide. Shouldn't that bother you just a little bit, just a smidgen, just a touch? And I look at these people and I say, no, it doesn't bother me even a little bit. And the reason it doesn't bother me is because idiots standing on the street corner aren't really going to influence too many people. How many times have you driven by a protest and looked out and saw a sign and said, "Oh, whoa, 1 second, hold on a second. That is life-changing"? It's never happened. It's never happened that 10,000 people or 20,000 people show up to a rally. It doesn't really change much. And if they show up to a rally in the diaspora in America and they're talking about something happening in the Middle East, they're not really going to move the needle at all on the politics of the Middle East. So what are we worried about? Why do we care? Why do people get so freaked out about this? Well, the answer to me is quite simple. Years ago, we've traded in the diaspora, we've traded the concept of Judaism for the concept of Zionism. Now, Zionism originally was created as Jewish nationalism, the belief that every Jew has a right to return to their homeland. But somewhere along the way, Judaism was replaced with Zionism for a lot of people. And so Israel became synonymous with Judaism, even though it's not. Israel's a secular state. But it became somehow synonymous with Judaism. And since it became synonymous with Judaism, any attack against Israel is an attack against the very fabric of what some people consider Judaism. And I know this sounds a little warped the way I'm putting it, but it's actually true. It's actually true. Judaism was replaced by Zionism in Jewish day schools in North America. Zionism replaced Judaism in many synagogues, where the flag of Israel flies freely in the synagogue. Now, I have no problem with Zionism. I believe in Jewish nationalism. I believe in supporting Jewish nationalism. I believe that all Jews should be in Israel. I really strongly believe that it's time that Jewish life in the diaspora has run out, that there is no more time for Jews in the diaspora. It's time for them to go. I strongly believe that, and I express that openly. But I also believe that Judaism is separate from Zionism. That Zionism could be Jewish nationalism, but it's not Judaism. And we should not replace Judaism with Zionism. It's a bad idea. And it's not only a bad idea because the Jew haters hate it. I've never let Jew haters define who I am and what I think. I think it's a bad idea because there's so much beauty in Zionism, and there's so much beauty in Judaism, and the beauty is so different between the two of them that I think that any Jew would be smart to enjoy the beauty in both of them, and not both of them as one unit, both of them as separate units. It's like going to a museum and looking at a picture on one wall and then turning around and seeing a picture on another wall. You can enjoy them both, but they're not the same picture. And so when Jew haters die, going back to Jesse Jackson dying, when Jew haters die, I could see the difference. I could see, not the difference. I could see the good they did in society because they fought for their own communities. I understand that, and I can see the good in that. And I can see the harm that they caused when they caused rifts, and when they caused really rifts and hard feelings by saying things and doing things. I can see that too. And I understand that there's a balance between hatred and critical. But when you refer to New York as Town, in the middle of a riot that Jews are being killed in, I'm fairly sure that you're supporting the wrong side of that riot. And so I leave you with these thoughts. I'm really hoping and praying that some kind of Jewish leader rises up. I really hope and pray that the Jewish leader rises up right across the world and tries to mobilize the Jewish people to do the right thing, to teach their children martial arts, to support Judaism, and to stand strong, and to not hide their Jewish symbols, and to fight back, and to get on the streets and reclaim what's ours. Because capitulation should never be an option for Jews. And when we see a Jew hater, we should recognize this Jew hater. We should call them out. We shouldn't allow them to continue to be Jew haters, public Jew haters. We should push them into a corner, get them back under the rock they came out under. I'm Howie Silberger. This is Political Hitman on Israel News Talk Radio. Feel free to visit the website, israelnewstalkradio.com. You can send me an email if you want to communicate with me. My email address is howie@israelnewstalkradio.com. I want to wish you and yours a very happy Purim. The holiday Purim is coming up. Jewish strength, Jewish military strength, survival of the Jewish people. Wish you a happy Purim, and I will see you again next show.